Hello, my dear student of Standard 12. We are doing the study of subject of economics. Hope you all are well and fine and doing your study very well and taking care of yourself. So, stay home and stay safe. Do your study with the help of my videos. Let me start with our today's topic of chapter number 6, index number. Before directly start with the topic, I want to revise the earlier topic that we had covered in earlier videos. First, introduction. Then we had done definition. Then we had done features, types of index number, and now today we are going to start with significance of index number. Now, student, directly start with the significance. I want to again revise what is the index number. Index number is the statistical tool in economics by which we can measure changes in economic variable. Right? Index number were originally developed to measure changes in the price level. Means initially this index number were used only to measure the changes in price level. Nowadays, we can use this index number in order to find out the changes in stock market, cost of living, industrial and agricultural production, changes in export and import, etc. Index number are not directly measurable, but it represents relative changes in the economy. That much we cover in earlier videos. Now we are going to start with a topic that is significance of index number in economics. First significance is framing suitable policies. Now, student, index number provide guideline to policymakers. For example, in economy, agricultural policy is set up with the help of taking the review of changes taken place in agricultural production. As we know, index number is useful in case of agricultural production. So, by reviewing or by analyzing the changes in agricultural production, government can change agricultural policy in order to make the development as well as growth in agricultural sector. Then it is useful in industrial sector, means it is useful to frame industrial policy. Generally, industrial policy is framed by the government in order to uplift industrial sector. By taking the review and analysis of the data or changes taken place in the industrial production in economy, a government can frame industrial policy in order to make the changes in industrial production. Then next one is fixation of wages and dearness allowance in accordance with the cost of living. Now student, here fixation of wages means we can change, not we, government can change the structure of wages as per the requirement of population by seeing the changes in the wages. Now the word comes there, that is dearness allowance. What is dearness allowance? It is the cost of living adjustment allowance paid to government employees, public sector employees and pensioners. It is calculated as a percentage of basic salary to mitigate the impact of inflation. देखो, डियरनेस अलाउंस का मीनिंग हिंदी में होता है महंगाई भत्ता और मराठी में होता है महंगाई भत्ता, राइट? सो जनरली एज पर द इकोनॉमिकल सिचुएशन government changes the dearness allowance in generally for the government employees. Okay, then what is the cost of living? Cost of living is the average amount of money that people in particular place need to afford basic food, housing and clothing. Okay, see, basically when people spend their money in order to get necessary things, that is food, housing, clothing, that is called as cost of living. So it is very useful for the government in order to set the fixation of wages and dearness allowance in accordance with the cost of living. Means जितना पैसा पब्लिक खर्चा करता है नेसेसरी थिंग्स पाने के लिए, राइट, अफोर्ड करता है, वो उसके हिसाब से गवर्नमेंट क्या करता है, डियरनेस अलाउंस सेट करता है। एज वेल एज इसके साथ भी वो क्या करता है, वेज रेट फिक्स करता है। सो इट इज बेनिफिशियल। जो इंडेक्स नंबर है उसके डेटा अगर आपने कैलकुलेट किया तो ऑब्वियसली आपको चेंजेस समझ में आएंगे इकोनॉमी में क्या हो रहे हैं। उससे हम क्या देख सकते हैं, गवर्नमेंट को क्या फायदा होता है, गवर्नमेंट उसके हिसाब से, जैसे कंज्यूमर है तो कंज्यूमर कितना पैसा नेसेसरी गुड्स के ऊपर खर्चा करता है, ये चेंजेस कितने हो रहे हैं, ये सब देख के गवर्नमेंट क्या करता है, वेज एंड डियरनेस अलाउंस सेट करता है। सो व्हाट वी गेट इन द फर्स्ट पॉइंट, फ्रेमिंग सुटेबल पॉलिसीज, मतलब इंडेक्स नंबर कौन कौन से पॉलिसी सेट करने में हेल्प करता है, तो एग्रीकल्चरल पॉलिसी, इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी, fixation of wages and dearness allowance in accordance with the cost of living. Okay, here I had mentioned the meaning of dearness allowance and cost of living. Okay, now next one is studies, trends and tendencies. Now index numbers are widely used to measure changes in economic variable such as production, prices, export, import, etc. over a period of a time. As we know, in index number, we generally compare current year with the base year or previous year, right? So in this particular comparison, we are consider different economic variable. For example, production, prices, export, import, etc. over a period of a time. Means here we are comparing the two time period along with the production, prices, export, import, etc. So we can measure any one economic variable with the help of index number. So in this way, the figure shows you the export of sugar and import of sugar, right? So the idea will be more clear to all of us. Export is always greater than import in case of sugar of our country. So such kind of representation of the data is nothing but which shows is nothing but which is showing with the help of index number, and it become very easy to understand what changes taken place in the previous year and current year. Okay, so it studies the trends and tendencies in the economy, right? For example, here example is given. By examining the index of industrial production for the last 5 years, we can draw important conclusions about the trends of industrial production, whether it shows an upward tendency or a downward tendency. Student, we can easily understood whether the production is going up or whether the production is going down. If it is the upward, it shows the upward tendency, obviously industrial production is having a growth. But if it is the downward, it means there is not a growth, right? So it help us to understand the trends and tendencies. Means actually what a pattern of gradual change in a condition, output or a process or an average or general tendency of a series of data represented by line or curve on a graph. So we can measure these trends and tendencies with the help of the given data, and we can represent all these changes with the help of graph. Okay. Now third one is forecasting about future economic activity. Index number are useful for making prediction for the future based on the analysis of the past and present trends in the economic activities. Here I put the example, that is, based on the available data pertaining to import and export, future prediction can be made. See, by taking the review of export and import, we can predict the future, and accordingly we can make the changes in import and export policy. You know student, there is EXIM policy which handle the import and export, where government try to encourage the export and discourage the import, right? So it is very beneficial to formulate the EXIM policy also. So this forecasting guides in proper decision making. So government can take the proper decision regarding the any variable. Fourth one is measurement of inflation. We know that index number is generally used to calculate the changes taken place in the economic variable, especially in the price level from time to time. But nowadays it is useful in the many areas that we already learn, right? So it enables the government to undertake appropriate anti-inflationary measures. There is a legal provision to pay the DA, that is dearness allowance, to the employee in the organized sector on the basis of changes in dearness index. By taking the review of wages, by taking the review of inflation, government pay the dearness allowance, as we already see in the earlier point. So we can measure the inflation. It is the nothing but the instrument to measure the inflation, and with the help of all this data, government can change the allowances as well as the wages on the basis of the situation of inflation. Now next point is useful to present financial data in real terms. Deflating means to make adjustment in the original data. Index numbers are used to adjust price changes, wage changes, etc. Now, deflating is the adjustment in the original data, right? So it helps the present financial data in real term at constant price. So here we completed significance of index number, right? So I think this concept is very clear to you, and it is obviously useful in the board exam. So thank you so much dear student, and we will see the next video of the same chapter in few days. Thank you.